Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is everything I crocheted this week, except it's a little bit different because I had originally filmed this for last week, which ran June 15th to the 21st. However, this week I have a market on the 28th and 29th, so this weekend it's Thursday right now, so my market's on Saturday. So market weeks I typically stop crocheting by Wednesday, so if I did this week as like a separate video, it would have been very short. I've got 6 things. So what I am doing is just re-recording my intro to like reflect the fact that it is now going to be 2 weeks, last week and this week. And then I will, add what I'm about to record to what I have already recorded, actually showing you these things so it kind of goes in order. So now we'll show you the things that I crocheted last week. This is stuff I made between June 15th and June 22nd. I do have a video up of stuff that I made like the first week of June and like going back into May and everything. There's no video from the second week of June just because I had a market at the end of that second week in June on the 14th. So if you guys have not seen that video yet, I will link the everything I'm bringing plus my prices video for that market and the market recap so you guys can find out how I did. This was a market where I was essentially trying out to see how things I made based on 2 other videos I did, if that makes sense. So basically there was a video where I did a pattern haul of everything that I like found on Etsy pattern wise that I really liked, that were like fun and cool in my personal taste. Just, my style, not anything that I heard would sell well or anything. Just because I was feeling kind of meh about doing, stuff that's supposed to be classics. The mini octos, the Mabel the chicken, pot mushrooms. I've been doing that stuff now for like a couple of years. So, while I do think, and I did at the time, that I would still be stocking that stuff, I also wanted to bring in some stuff that was more my taste too. Just keeps me interested in continuing to market prep, because in the middle of making like the obligatory kind of pieces, I can make stuff that like personally brings me joy. And then B, it also helps like differentiate my booth from another crochet vendor's booth, because you guys know a lot of times when we see a cool pattern like the Oak and Marlowe chickens and the cable and canvas spot mushrooms that we shared in the community, and then we all end up with that stock in our booth also. So I don't think there's anything wrong with carrying that stuff. I just wanted to have some of my personality in my booth as well. So yeah, I was testing out things I made from those patterns to see how they sold, and I was also testing out stuff that I made based on 2025 bestsellers for like market stuff, if that makes sense. Basically, I scoured all of YouTube for content creators big and small, found 15 different channels who had done market recaps for markets they had done specifically in 2025, took notes, compared, and I then let you guys know what's selling for those people. Is it still just like mini octos, pot mushrooms, Mabel chickens, axolotls, etc.? Or is there like another pattern that people are using that we don't all know about yet? And should we be like making that thing? What seems to be kind of like up and coming, that kind of deal. So that video is up on my channel, as well as another pattern haul after that I did based specifically on patterns I bought, based specifically on information from the 2025 bestsellers. So those 3 videos I'll have linked in the description and all of that. Yeah. So this is everything I made this week. Why were we talking about that? I don't know. Oh, just because, yeah, there was no this video from the second week of June, just because I had a market at the end of that week. So now this is for the 3rd week of June. All that to say, that was very long-winded. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'll put like a timestamp or something. I will say, since I mentioned it anyway, some of these things are also from that pattern list of things that I found particularly interesting. So yeah, I'm still making that stuff because I still find it interesting. But I've got 2 of these little mandrakes. These are fun for me because I did them different than the pattern person advised. She said to basically cut out like a little square, not a square, That's a circle. Cut out a little circle of plastic or cardboard to put in the base of these, so you have something to grab onto to like do the pop situation. I did not want to do that. What I did instead was use those weighted poly pellets to put in this. So this is just poly pellets in here in a disposable nylon sock. So I just put the poly pellets in the sock, tie it basically like a water balloon, and then I jammed it in this, and then this part up here has like regular stuffing. So it pops and it's weighted, so it's not gonna like tip over. It's got good stability, and I made both of them like that. So I think that's fun, and that's a unique use of the poly pellets because, you know, it's not a weighted stuffed animal, so it doesn't quite go into that category. It's not like a comfort thing, but it is like good for stability kind of thing. So yeah. And if you guys want to know what poly pellets I'm using and what disposable socks I'm using, because a lot of the disposable socks are like no-show, so I personally didn't get the no-show variety because I wanted to make sure I could fill it up as needed for bigger plushies. I'll have that stuff linked in the description as well. I made 4 Will-O-the-Wisps. This is blue paw print crochets pattern. They're fun. You just stuff the head, you don't have to stuff the body too, so good for supplies. This is their why can't I frackin' say that name? Blue paw print crochets little monster pattern. It is very much Mike Wazowski, but they're not selling it as such. And yeah, is he upside down? No, he's not. I made these 2 greens, and then I made this green, which is just about the last of this green. It's like Clary Sage or something by Bernat Blanket, which is like impossible to find now, so I'm kind of feeling salty about that. But I made 3. They're cute. I got this little Wendigo pattern. Oh, these patterns are linked on my master Google Doc, which I think is updated, but also every time I say that, you guys seem to find the one pattern that I accidentally overlooked and are like, but that's not linked on there. And then I gotta go find you that pattern link, and that's my bad. I'll take that. I do buy a lot of patterns, so it's hard. I don't remember this pattern designer though. That's why I'm mentioning the fact that they should be linked. If they're not though, and you need a pattern for something, I read and respond to every comment. So if you ask for a pattern link, I will go find it for you if it happens to not be on that Google Doc. But yeah, Wendigo. Also surprisingly quick. This is only like a $25 item, and the only thing you have to sew on is the snoot right here and the little antler things. And then I've got a Cthulhu, and this is entirely no sew, even the wings are crocheted on, so he's pretty cool. I also made one in this color. This is actually the one I did first, but I've got a lot of blue because I was going to make my sister a blue dragon, and I did, but I ended up using a different blue and a very much smaller dragon pattern. So I just have like hella dark blue, and it's just one of those colors that I don't really use that often. So when I find little aquatic things like this, I do try to go out of my way to use it. Oh, I guess I'll show you this guy first. They also have a mini Grim Reaper pattern, which is not totally dissimilar to my other Grim Reaper that I made, that I don't remember that pattern designer either. But this is smaller and doesn't have the accessories, and was it no sew? It might have been no sew. Or maybe you sew on the hood. Yeah, you might sew on the hood. I think you do sew on the hood. But it was very easy to make. So the other ones I made were like $48. This guy, how much is he? Okay, also $25. Yeah, the Wendigo is $25, the Grim Reaper is $25, and the Cthulhu, being totally no sew, is actually only $20. They're very quick. Less than an hour for all 3 of them. This one was right, yeah, this one was the longest, right about an hour. No, because the other one was right about an hour too. That's why it's the same price. Either way, an hour or less for these, which is not bad. With fall coming up, I think that's a good call. Then there was just a little pattern in there for the skulls themselves. So I've got 3 skulls. And then 2 more things left. I got me this here ghost dog pattern, which there's kind of a funny story with this one. I got about to here on it last year, maybe even the year before that, and just set it on a shelf and never finished it. And I kept thinking, wow, I want to use that white yarn, but it's connected to this project, so I can't. And to which point I bought like white yarn like 3 other times, even though there was like a brand new skein except for like this much out of it from like the nose down. So I'm like, why am I not finishing it? And with Halloween coming, I decided to finish them. Also, surprisingly quick. What was this? An hour and 15 minutes? Not bad. And you don't have to stuff inside. It just, you know, chills. I will say, the yarn I used for this is kind of a moot point, I guess. The Loops and Threads, what is it? Sweet Snuggles Light, which is like basically non-existent at this point. But I was gonna say, because it's like a softer plush yarn, he does stand up on his own, like on a flat surface when you've like opened him up and like sit him down. But he'd have more stability if you did like a white burnout blanket or like Walmart's version of burnout blanket. They're like Mainstays, whatever, chenille, whatever. So I do think if I make that pattern again, I will use that yarn just so he's, like I said, more stable. And then the last thing I made was this little ghost. This little ghost might be familiar to you guys. This is my ghost pattern from my No Sew Halloween pattern pack. In that pattern pack, we've got a ghost, we've got a Frankenstein, we've got a candy corn, a pumpkin, and a witch hat that also fits the ghost, the pumpkin, not the pumpkin, the ghost, the Frankenstein, and the candy corn. So you can add that accessory to them if you wanted. I've done it to where I just kind of like hot glue it on at like a little angle, and it's really cute on the ghosts. So yeah, all that to say, if you guys forgot I had that pattern pack, it is listed on Etsy and you can get that if you want to, no pressure. I am pretty much essentially going to be making, for now, at this time, before this oddities market, which is this coming weekend, I'm essentially right now just going to make 2 ghosts out of the pattern pack and 2 of the Frankensteins out of that pattern pack. But, you know, not to say the other ones aren't good. I just feel like they fit best with my, like, monsters vibe there. So, yeah. And I think that's it for this week. I don't recall how many that is there, but it's a good fair amount. I'm up now to 286 items, totaling $5,001.50. Okay, and that concludes last week's stuff. And now we're getting into what I crocheted this week. I actually just got done tagging it because, like I said, the market is Saturday and I'm tagging things right now, but I just tagged what I made this week. And then I still have everything I just showed you in that video left to tag. I got my tags made though. I just am using my tagging gun to put them on. Also, sorry about this lighting situation. It is what it is. Yeah. Okay. So I have made 2 of my ghosts. At the end of that clip that I pre-recorded already, I had mentioned that I was about to make some stuff from my patterns. So this is from my No Sew Halloween pattern pack. You can get ghosts, and I made 2. I'm gonna put them over here. Then I have 2 Frankensteins from that No Sew pattern pack there for Halloween. I like this one because I usually just do a purple shirt that looks like this, and I've always done like this exact color scheme, but I used this purple yarn that has like colored spots in it, and I feel like it's a vibe. He's pretty dope. And then I made 2 spiders. Ooh, I've almost dropped them. So I've got just a black and white spider, very traditional, and then I really was vibing with that purple, so I made one in purple too. So that is everything I made this week and last week too. And I suppose this is the end of the video, so I will see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.